Hello everyone, welcome to Migration Live with Sirus Migration 101 on Thursday, the first every Thursday, first week of every month. So this is maybe the last question for this financial year, or we might do another one just at the end, just to give you enough updates. So we'll be posting a lot of migration updates next couple of weeks, because there will be many migration updates coming up. There are many news at the moment, but when the facts come out, when the legislation come out, we are expecting to push it through to you live straight away. All the breaking news with Australian migration, if you're interested in learning more or seeing your eligibility, I think we highly recommend you to join us and listen to our live updates through our social media networks. So having said that, it is the time for you to consider pressing that subscribe button, or the what is it called? Subscribe, or the like us button in whichever channel you're coming to us through from, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the else Marius connecting us through. So my name is Yapa. I'm an Australian registered migration agent, and I'm lucky to have Ashani Yapa here with me today as well. Another very talented migration agent happened to be my lovely wife. So we're here to crack your migration queries and see if we can be an help or help you solve your problems throughout the day. So if you have any migration related questions, it's time to pop your question, and we would love to solve it as much as we can during the live session. If not, we will invite you for a one-on-one meeting, which will not cost you initially. For the first meeting, normally it costs you $150. So we'll waive it for you. I think it's mostly
we covered most of the latest updates in our last month's session. So there hasn't been too many updates as to say that, you never knew this, but there's news. There's not too much. But then we do want to cover a bit of skilled migration, Western Australia and New South Wales. I'll go through the criteria a bit because Western Australia is a great state, actually, very minimum requirements and many occupations available as well.
Ashan is picking up from the last conversation, but that's a good point.
So we will go through that, and also we will talk about the hotcakes 482 TISMIT, employee nominated visa. It's been
it's a great year for last few months. It's been a hot topic for general skill migration and ENS. So a lot of people talk about it in Australia. They've been very generous with general skill migration for talented people or skillful people in certain sectors, and they have opened it quite so widely. So there are so many options for you to come in to become an Australian permanent resident through general skill migration. So is through the employee nominated schemes. We've spoken about it a few times, so many times. But the latest updates, we keep on pushing it. Just before we go into general skill migration and employee nominated, I just wanted to remind you the GTI sector is not totally dead or anything like that. It's just the rest of the programs overtaken the freshness of it, I would say. So there are many grants that we're getting at the moment. We've got many happy GTI clients, general Global Talent Independent clients, who have been invited. So Global Talent Independent is also there. This is for talented people. There's no age limit. There's no English required. There's no minimum academic qualifications you need for Global Talent, but you need to be in a target sector. You need to have global presence and global knowledge for this. Other than that, business visa, we are hoping, we have been given clues that it'll be up and live from July or the next financial year. So expecting this to happen very soon. And also in between this, we're hearing very good news for our Indian clients that they're going to get working holiday visa opportunities, as well as the Australia is getting going to start recognize majority of the courses that they're graduating from in Australia. So they're going to be a good session coming out for Indian applicants as well. So, but they're not legislated yet. As soon as these things come legislated, we'll be notifying you straight away. So stay tuned and stay touch, and we will let you know.
I lied. I said there hasn't been big updates since the last month. Actually, there has. I covered this in my Friday live session, so that's why I thought I already told you guys about this. So migration planning levels for 2023 and 24 is out. And I don't think it was out when we did the last session, because it came out on 9th of May. So I'll quickly go through the planning levels and compare that with the last year's as well, because a lot of people think, okay, do we have options? You know, has the numbers gone down? So the total number of migration program is 190,000 places. The total number last year was 195,000 places. So 5,000 is reduced. But when you look at the whole number, 5,000 is not that much. So still the migration program across all visas for next year, it's 190,000 places. Skill migration, it was 142,000 last year. This year it's 137,100 places. So when I say skill migration, that is for employer sponsored visas. So 482s, skill independent, that is 189, regional visas, state and territory, business innovation, global talent, and distinguished talent. So I'll go each category, how many places available, so that way you can get an understanding how competitive or how less competitive it's going to be for the next year to get that visa granted or to get that invitation. So employer sponsored visa, which is 494, 482, 186 direct entry. So all those are 36,825. That's actually an increase from last year. Last year it was only 35,000. And skilled independent, which is subclass 189. Last year 32,000. So next year it's going to be 30,375. So we saw how many people got 189 invitations. Even from 65, 70 points, people got invitations. So that was because they had 32,000. So it's going to be the same for next year. So if you're ready, if your occupation's in that list, even if you have 65 points, you should lodge an EOI. There is a really good chance for you to get an invitation.
Depending on your occupation, and also if you're planning to increase you don't have to 100% have all your points expected available on the right spot, like the first spot. So you can always apply for your UI and upgrade the UI as you go. So you can, if you're planning to do your NATI test next week, you can still do it with 65 points today, and then update your NATI points next week. So you don't have to wait for another week or two or another month.
We always tell our clients, as soon as you have the bare minimum, lodge it, and then you can increase. So that's skill independent, as I said, 30,375. Regional visa, so 491s, there's 32,300. So again, you can see that Australia is planning to develop regional areas, and you're going to get priority if you live, work, study in regional areas. So people who doesn't have any other options, or who has less points, or loves living in Australian country, great visa, subclass 491. The next one, state and territory nominated, which is the subclass 190, again 30,400 places. Business innovation and investment, subclass 188. It used to be 5,000, it's gone down to 1,900, but still there's going to be nearly 2,000 visas granted for business innovation and investment.
That's
next financial
between
year.
188 ABC and E.
That's
so
right.
yeah,
Hopefully they'll still be the same after July, but you will to find out. Global talent independent, 5,000 places last year, it's going to be 5,000 for the next year. And distinguished talent, 300, and it's going to be 300 for the next year as well. No change there. So the total skill migration program, 137,100 for 2023-24 planning year. Family visa, so partner visas remain the same at 40,500. Parent visas remain the same, 8,500. Child visa, 3,000 places. Other family remains the same, which is 500. So the total family visa hasn't changed, which is 52,500. And then special eligibility, it was 100, now it's gone up to 400. That compiles the total migration program to 190,000 places.
This is for the coming financial year, starting from 1st of July to 30th of June next year. And again, this is one of the biggest financial intakes, I don't know where that comes from, migration intakes for, I think it's a history-making intake, actually a massive migration intake next year. So get ready if you're planning to extend your next step to Australia. This is whether you're coming from Europe side, South Asian side, Middle Eastern side, doesn't matter, African side, South American side, you're all eligible, you're all in the same boat when it comes to skill migration and employee-nominated sector. So before we talk a little bit about employee-nominated sector, I would like to take a couple of quick questions from YouTube. Lakpriya Heshan is asking, Heshan he's from Sri Lanka. When it comes to this newly introduced aged care labour agreement, which leads to a pathway for a 482 visa, which is a very, very good question. I think you're picking up a very good topic, Lakpriya. Is it actually possible to apply for the visa from Sri Lanka when we meet the entry requirement that have been stated in the Department of Home Affairs? Okay, since it's under the labour agreement and there is requirements from the employer, where and how I can find the employers who's willing to sponsor me? See, very good question. Yes, you can apply from Sri Lanka. When it comes to this new aged care program, you only need the aged care qualification. They also waive this two-year requirement. There's only the whole infrastructure-wise or the documentation-wise, it's very new, Heshan. So currently only I can't say handful. One aged care is registered with the union at the moment with the labour agreement or the MOU. So they're working on the other aged care sectors are working on it as we speak right now. Yeah. Within in coming weeks it'll be up and running. So hopefully within next couple of weeks or next couple of months you'll see it's opening up. So it's a very good sector, very good question you ask. There are going to be a lot of good opportunities to work in the aged care sector, in client caring. So if you're interested, you need to have Australian aged care Cert 3 level or higher, and then if you're willing to work on it, just I think is there
maybe send us
limit?
a 45.
Yes.
45
so 45
is the cutoff.
Because yeah. No, 482 you can.
482 there is no limit, but he's asking about PR pathway to permanent residency. So I think I would stick to 45.
45 in the metro areas and 55 in Dharma areas, in majority of the Dharma sectors. Hope it fulfilled your requirements for the questions.
That answered
so if you need to
questions. If you need any further information, get in touch with us. You can email admin@sirus.com.au.
Next from Shalika Indrajit, asking about 187 visa. 187, Shalika, the question is please give brief information about 187 visa. So 187 is abolished at the moment. So it's gone, I think 2018 or 19, it just disappeared.
It was replaced by a different visa called 494.
It's not completely replaced. It's a separate visa strategy altogether. 187 used to be also used to be known as RSMS. This is a permanent residency visa for so if you had a job and if you qualified enough, had IELTS 6 in each band, you could have got permanent residency in a regional area straight away. It's like a work visa, like 482, but permanent residency. So these visas got abolished in a few years back, or 2019 or so.
Unless Shalika is asking about 186.
Yeah, so 186 is
it's a different visa, because looking at that question, I kind of have a feeling that maybe you're asking about the 186. Maybe just tell us your background and then we can give you a better understanding. If you don't want to type your personal details there, I completely understand. You can send us an email. Maybe it's the 186 that suits you better, because 187 there is no such visa anymore.
So what's similar, as Ashani said, the replacement, it's not a direct replacement, it's a similar visa is introduced called 494 for people. Like back in the days, we didn't used to have short-term skill migration list and a medium to long-term. So 187 was available for pretty much anyone. And with the introduction of short-term and medium to long-term, this 494 came. So that 494 gave a pathway for people in short-term skill occupation list and ROL people to have a PR pathway. So if you had a job opportunity from a regional area in a occupation listed in ROL or STSOL, short-term skill occupation list, you have a permanent residency pathway after 3 years. For you to be eligible for 494, you still also need to have a 3 years work experience and IELTS 6 in each band. So 187 and 494 is quite different. It's a temporary pathway program, but 187 is no longer available. Similar, 186 also is there. 186, you need to have 3 years of work experience with a skills assessment, and your age has to be below 45 years, and you need to have competent English, which is IELTS 6 in each band or PTE 15 in each band. And most importantly, you need to have an employer who's willing to sponsor you. So with a skills assessment.
Yes.
So
that's employer-nominated visas. As I said, it's been quite. We've been doing so many employer-nominated visas because a lot of people want to get their nominations and visas lodged before 1st of July for a very, very good reason. That brings us to the TISMIT. So there has been some updates. A lot of people were worried, how is this TISMIT going to affect if you have lodged your 482 or the work visa and you haven't got the visa yet, or you haven't got the nomination approved. So we got some very latest news that came out only a few days ago. So as long as you lodge your nomination and visa application for 482 or whichever the visa that TISMIT affects, it doesn't matter whether it's granted or not. As long as you've lodged it, that TISMIT before 1st of July, you will be required to meet the old TISMIT. But if you lodge your nomination and visa application after 1st of July, then you need to meet the new TISMIT for 482 and 494, all these visas where you need to meet the TISMIT.
Yeah.
So that's some information.
So
again,
TISMIT is
the
payment benchmark or the minimum pay that you can introduce to a foreign employee in Australia. So it used to be 53,900. Say, for an example, if you're a restaurant owner expecting to hire a chef, your minimum pay has to be 53,900, but 53,900 is not the minimum benchmark. 53,900 is not the minimum benchmark, because if you have someone else's doing similar job with a similar experience paying high, you need to be paying high amount. So if someone else getting paid 60,000 there, you need to consider paying the foreign employer also 60,000. So it doesn't affect if you have people already working in your workplace with a high amount. So, but if you have someone who you were expecting to sponsor paying less than $70,000, and if things are ready, then I think you better consider applying for this visa before 1st of July to get that benefit of paying 70,000, because it's going to be 70,000 plus super, which is another 10.5% from 1st of July. I'm not sure if superannuations increase from 1st of July either, because I think last few times it was going up by 0.25 or 0.5% every year.
Yeah. I've got Vishal asking, I have applied for 491 South Australia in January 2023 but haven't received yet. Waiting time is crazy, daily checking but no luck yet. Please put some light on this and waiting period and processing time. Vishal, can you please first tell me whether you have applied for the visa or you are waiting on the invitation from South Australia? Because visas can take bit of time. I can see there's a bit of a delay in visa process that
Yeah.
we normally expect at the end of a financial year every year, because there's a backlog for the whole year. And then, so visa applied. As I said,
You're in the bridging visa, Vishal. Don't worry. Go get your.
Maybe he's offshore. Who knows? Maybe he's not here.
Yeah.
If you're not in Australia. Are you in Australia or offshore? Yeah, so visa timing, he applied in January 2023. I think you'll be waiting for a bit longer, at least another 3-4 months. Yes, you're offshore. So I think, just carry on with your life. It'll come when it comes.
Enjoy your time wherever you are. If you're, I'm pretty looks like you're from India, but I mean, wherever you are, party with your friends, get to know your
It will come, but it's going to take, it's fine. It's going to take 3-4 months. But you have actually, you're in the last leg of this race. Some people haven't even started, so you're in a very good place. You've lodged it, which means you're going to get this visa granted anytime.
Very soon, yes.
Yes.
And it won't be. I wouldn't expect. I've spoken to some of the clients who applied for 190, 491, 189 offshore about 3 years back. I don't think it'll be crazy like that for you. They're very fast at the moment.
3-4 months waiting.
Give or take 1 year would be a good guess.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So congratulations, you will get your visa.
Enjoy the pav bhajis now.
Yeah. So I think let's go back to talking about what do you want to talk about?
General skill migration. Ashan is talking about it every Friday, so we'll leave the topic to her. But if there's anything in general. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you for joining us. If there's anything we can be helpful to you anytime, or you need our knowledge, you know the time to talk to us so we can engage with you directly. So,
So yes, I think I'll just quickly cover Western Australia. As I promised, Western Australia is a great state because they have about 331 occupations, and Western Australia doesn't charge any fees for you to get an invitation from them, and then the requirement for you to have the contract, and there were some strict requirements that has been removed as well to make it easier for Western Australia. So it is such an attractive state among a lot of our applicants and a lot of applicants from all over the world. And there have been about 4,950 new places, interim places granted as well. Not like a lot of other states. So Western Australia has two main pathways. One is general, which means for people who are not studied in Western Australia, and there is a pathway called graduates, which means you are a Western Australian graduate. So the priorities are, first they look at give priority if you're living in Western Australia. The second priority is given if you're in Australia. The final priority is if you're offshore, obviously. And normally for general stream, it's the highest points that they will pick first. So that's their biggest priority based on the ceiling. And also they will look at how much state requirements you meet, again how many points, and as well as the date you lodged your invitation. So that is basically how they give the invitations under general stream. So what's general stream? Under general stream, there are two occupations. One is the Schedule 1 occupation list, which is mainly health and medical occupations, and the second one is the rest of the occupations. So for Schedule 2, the only requirement is you need to have your occupation in the Schedule 2 occupation list, and you need to have a contract for 6 months. So that's the only two requirements from Western Australia. You don't need to be working, you don't need to show work experience, nothing like that. So that's a very easy criteria to meet, as long as you meet the normal point tested criteria from the Home Affairs. And the Schedule 1, which is the health and medical professionals, you need to have your occupation on the Schedule 1 occupation list. You need to have 2 years work experience. You need to have 1 year work experience in the last 10 years, and that 1 year doesn't have to be in Western Australia or in Australia. It can be anywhere. As I said, so you can be an offshore candidate. So you could be a nurse, or you could be a resident medical officer with 1 year work experience, and you're ready to go. And for 190, you need to have a full-time contract for 6 months. But if you're planning for 491, you don't even need to have a contract. So it's that simple for Western Australia. Let's look at the graduate stream. Things get better. Graduate stream, you need to have occupation in the Western Australian graduate occupation list. So there is a different list. And also you need to have completed at least Certificate 3 or higher. Western Australia full-time study for 2 years. So you need to be a student in Western Australia for 2 years and studied a course that is at least at certificate level 3 or higher. That's the only requirement under the graduate stream. So you need to have the occupation and need to be a Western Australian graduate for 2 years.
So that stream's mainly targeted for people who have graduated, international students who have graduated from Western Australia.
That actually has made Western Australia a very attractive state for people to come and study. I think we are working with many colleges and universities and working up with new partnerships as well. So if you're interested in studying in Western Australia, I think it's time that you look into it.
And I would also like to take a bit of time to talk to our audience from TikTok. We had been getting so many messages from TikTok. We're getting through to as much as we can get to. So there are some general messages that we might not be able to get to, like I love Australia, I would like to go to Australia. So but if you're motivated or qualified person who's willing to come to Australia with your skills, we're here to help you. There are many contact details listed down there. Please contact us. If you sometimes messaging could be a bit of a delay, but if you want our urgent attention, the best way to get to us is call us through one of our numbers there, rather than texting, because we have many staff going through the inquiries at the moment and setting up appointments one-on-one.
And sometimes maybe be a bit more specific than just being general, saying I want to come to Australia. If you could give us a bit more information, sometimes that can be really helpful, because we need to filter and see how we can help you to the best we can help you. So that really it really helps us. The more details you give us, it's easier, makes our jobs easier. And
also we have a process that we follow before we set up a meeting with you. We get our administration team gets you to fill up certain forms and documentation, so the meeting one-on-one with us is much more effective and productive for you. So for us to keep delivering a better quality service to you, your understanding and your cooperation is highly appreciated. I would like to, among a few questions from TikTok, I would like to talk to Mr. Nath about, he's a driller and he's got over 10 years work experience to what I'm seeing. He's looking at exploration drilling. I would like to know a little bit more. I think as an occupation, it's a very well demanded occupation. Hence I picked up your question among a lot of others. There are many pathways available for you, skill migration or work visa, depending on your background. So we would like to know how old you are, what's your English level, what's your qualifications, and having 10 years experience as a driller in your back is a massive thing. Please be a little bit more specific, or just pick up your phone and call us, or send us an email. So
with your CV.
So we'll set up an appointment with one of our migration team one-on-one directly, so we can be a little bit more supportive towards your questions. So
yeah. I think let's go back to talking about the permanent residency pathways to Australia.
Permanent residence, we got few major main pathways that we can talk about. We generally talk about general skill migration, business visa, employee nominated schemes. Global talent independent and general stream goes very close to each other. So hence we separated it, but the fundamentals are vaguely different. So I took it out. refugee, if you have parents, partners, children, other relatives, you have no one else outside, but everyone else is in Australia, you're the only one left out in your home country. Or if you have a disabled family member who's looking to get some care from one of your care support from one of your family members.
Family member has to be Australian
Correct.
citizen or permanent resident.
And then if you're looking for some support from a family member from Australia overseas, then
So let's go with, the beginning of all this PR pathway can be, for many of our clients, is becoming a student. So you are offshore, then you come to Australia and you start studying.
That's one of the ways. So I wasn't sure when we draft this which way to go. So when we did it, I still stuck. So if you came as a student, that's great. But if you already qualified, you don't have to go back as a student.
Of course not.
So you can jump straight into the stream.
Yes.
And also, I would like to interpret this a little bit differently. I wish if the business was a little bit one down, so I can batch general skill migration and employee nomination together, because the fundamental requirements or the basic requirements for both the streams are very similar. You need to be a minimum of age 45 or below. So, no, did I say it the right way? So the maximum age limit is 45, but ENS sector, there is a bit of a loop around where we can circumvent it and then come back to 55. We'll talk about it separately, but the basic foundation is 45. And then minimum English requirement is competent English for both sectors. So it doesn't have to be academic, general, but if you go as IELTS 6 in each band, or if you go with PTE, that's 50 in each band. And you need to have a skills assessment.
And most of the time, these skilled people who are in Australia, they're eligible for both.
Absolutely.
Go with either skill migration or with employee nominated visa, and because most of them are already working, and Australian employers are now more and more into coming out of the box and thinking about, sponsoring people, helping them to come to Australia. We work with many employers who are new, who doesn't know anything, but who are willing to learn because they value this talent that they are seeing from outside. So because of that, most of our clients are eligible for both streams. They just have to pick which one is more beneficial according to their situation at that time.
Absolutely.
So when we talk to them, I normally ask, whether you want to. Sometimes I say go for 186, don't wait for a 190, based on their situation. So we need to know a lot about the
At times, most of your benefit having us is to mitigate these sort of complications. So if you have both options, we'll probably have a chat and look at your background and customize a plan saying, look, your fastest way or your most beneficial way is this, but it might not hurt to go both, or you might just want to stick to this only, and etc. So general skill migration, ENS, I think they both are good. So very similar fundamentals. And then we go back to business innovation. In this case, no one's worried about your English levels or your academic levels. The majority of the concerns or the incentives are towards what's your business skills.
Yeah.
What's your turnovers in right business right now? How much tax have you been paying? How much turnover have you been making? What's your asset levels? They are net assets. You can always take out your liabilities from the total asset values and get the net asset value. What are the net asset values? And if you got academic, then you'll get incentives. If you got English, you'll get points towards it. But as I said earlier, majority of the points are based on how old you are and what's your business skills are like, how much business experience do you have, and what sort of turnovers have you handled or can you handle, and how much asset levels have you built. Then this is between you, yourself, and your spouse. So that's business visa. Come here, work, run a business. 2-3 years later, you can get into permanent residence. It might get a little bit different protocol coming months, but that's the main.
I think we have enough time to answer 2 more questions.
So, good question from E.
Yes.
Sorry, we don't know. You could be Edward. You could be.
I would like to know how the TSMIT is computed. So I can answer it in two ways. TSMIT includes the yearly salary, including tax, but excluding superannuation.
Correct.
So if we say TSMIT is 70,000, that means your minimum salary has to be 70,000. That's including tax plus superannuation, which is like what, 10%, 10.5% now?
Employee Provident Fund. So when you talk to an employer, you have to be specific that whatever your nominated amount is, or the offered amount is, excluding your employment provision fund or
which
the superannuation.
But it's including the
normally, the tax level, like your salary package is tax inclusive anyway. So
I've got a last question which we are going to answer.
Sorry. At the moment, it's TSMIT. That's one of the. So that's the benchmark amount, 53,900 coming into 70,000. The TSMIT's the other important factor also is it depends on where you're going to be working. In the workplace where you're going to be working, is there a similar skilled person working in the same occupation? Then their value has to be the same. So forget about 70,000. Let's think it's 53,900. You're a chef and you're trying to get into workforce, and you find out there is a similarly experienced person working there at 45,000, but they can't pay you $45,000 a year because your benchmark is 53,900. In that case, you might not be eligible. So in that case, they need to bring that person to 53,900 as well.
Yeah.
So an Australian citizen cannot be unbeneficial from this whole scenario as well.
Yeah.
So
I've got Dhammika asking, can I apply for PR through GTI pathway by having a PhD in Canada, transportation engineering sector?
My opinion? Or your
Actually, just having a PhD will not qualify you. The PhD
anymore.
is just one criterion in a very long list of criteria that they're looking at. So with a PhD, you don't need to have a high income if you have a PhD though, but then you need to have a lot of other credentials apart from having a PhD. I think if you do have a PhD, Dhammika, in Canada, get in touch with us. We can do a preliminary run through of your CV and ask some questions, and we can give you more advice as to whether it is worth trying for a GTI, because we advise a lot of our clients now, until we thoroughly look at your CV, or you get someone to look at your CV and understand the criteria, don't just apply for GTI and wait for it. I don't think it's worth anymore.
So GTI in the initial stages, it is actually still one of the entry requirements. So if you have recently graduated PhD
in the last 2 years,
6 months or last 2 years?
2 years.
Last 2 years, then you can apply for your GTI. But in our experience going through the nomination process,
that's not enough.
Just having a PhD by itself wouldn't cut the cake anymore.
Yeah.
So you'll probably have to show your exposure to the international sector, and in the targeted sector, how you would have excelled in publications and. Mario, help me out. I have to.
International publications and recognition, international recognition. So I think that answered your question.
Be in touch, and we'll probably give you a little
email.
bit more support if you want to put it together.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us today for our last session of this financial year. Maybe, but depending on how many new inquiries we get, we might be in touch with you again.
If you happen to not subscribe to our channel yet, do it now, because I'm telling you, this month there'll be so many new updates coming through live as soon as they come out, because we are expected to have so many directions and indications about what's going to be the new visa directions. Every morning I wake up and check where's my 188 new directions for the next financial year. I still haven't seen it. So I'm telling
1900 places.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't worry.
That's it.
We work with clever people. Last couple of years, I've seen many good business practices mushroomed up in Australian community and creating many jobs. I'm not a big fan of 188B and C, which is just very boring. You come here, invest 2.5, chuck a whole lot of money into one pond and just wait from the interest returns or the silent partner returns. Where 188A is my favorite part, where we actively work in the businesses. I've seen many of my clients doing really, really well, and it just makes me very, very happy. And I'm so glad that I could be a part of their journey as well. And their motivation also helped me in certain areas with share their experience. So I'm waiting for the 188 days to come. And look, general skill migration, employee nominated sector, global talent independent, business visas, it's all going to shine in very soon. So be in touch wherever you're coming to see us from. God bless you all, and thank you so much for watching us. Hope to catch up with you guys in coming weeks, in a couple of weeks.
See you
Bye-bye.
Friday.
See you.